always best reading presentation for the board to present to you as a body. So I do want to have an opportunity to present to you Blueprint 2.0, our way forward. And I really want to take an opportunity to thank you all. I want to thank our community. I want to thank our staff for really working with us to put this together. We did print copies enough for folks who are here with us tonight so they can actually see what the plan looks like in its entirety. Many folks have just been hearing us talk about the framework of it, seeing the framework of the plan. Now it's actually been developed, and we're asking the board for consideration tonight. But first, I do want to thank the process. And Mandy Dietrich and Michelle Prumo really did a great job of engaging our public around this, along with myself, because I really wanted to make sure we built up the success of Blueprint for Progress. And so we've done a lot of great work and made a lot of strides in these. But we had a lot of stakeholder input in this. And we had stakeholder input from students, from staff. We had over 18 community meetings where we really talked to people about what do you want to see as the direction of the school system, some of the successes we've had overall. Based on that progress, we actually came up with what we believe to be a theory of action. And that theory of action really was released in March at our State of the Schools event, where we basically said that in order to prepare globally competitive graduates, remember we got away from this college and career readiness, but really globally competitive graduates, what does it need to look like? We said it needs to look like making sure our kids have access to a digital learning environment in every single school. So it's not some schools, but it's all schools. It's not some students, but it's all students. But then we also need to make sure our students had opportunity and access to learn a world language. And so based on that, we said this is our theory of action of how we will move forward over the next 5 years. From that, we actually came up with 4 themes that kept being, they were prevailing in all of our community meetings. You may have heard them before: academic, safety, communication, and organizational effectiveness. I know that's sort of new, but we've been hearing that all over the school year. When I did my community meetings, these were themes that kept coming up over and over. So I do want to take an opportunity to just walk through briefly what are some of the things that are in each of those pillars. And so when you look at academics, of course, our first and foremost is our curriculum. We exist because of what we want students to know and be able to do. And as Maryland is transitioning to Common Core, we need to make sure there's a world-class curriculum that we have in place and really doing it based on a digital platform. And so that's why you hear a lot of conversation around the instructional digital conversion. The board will get this additional information at its retreat, but we also in the fall will be updating the board through its board workshops around what does this real instructional digital conversion mean. It means allowing our students to have access to a second language and getting proficient in that starting as early as elementary. And then we know the achievement gap doesn't start in middle school or high school. It starts before them. It starts before kids even get to us. And how do we make sure that through our pre-K enrollment, we're able to get more students early on? Additionally, you'll see some information around equity and access and making sure that with our diverse community and our diverse population, we're giving all of our students equity and access to our most rigorous opportunities. And last but not least, there's a lot of focus around tiered support to schools. I came on board and I said very clearly, we cannot treat all schools the same. We have schools with various needs, and so how do we make sure we tier our support to make sure schools are getting what they need? The next pillar is safety. And when we look at safety, it's really looking at making sure what are those proactive safety measures that we're doing in all of our schools to make sure that our kids are indeed safe, our employees are safe, and our community is safe when they get there. There's been a lot of work this school year around that, meaning that we've done a system-wide look at safety and security for every single campus. Dale Runzon has done a really good job moving to the role of Executive Director of School Safety and Security, but we know we need to be proactive and continue being proactive in our approach. This also means making sure that we're addressing the social and emotional needs of our students and the whole child, and we're just not focusing on the academic component as well too. This aspect of our Blueprint 2.0 really does look at making sure that our students are well, making sure that we address them through health and wellness opportunities, including the meals that we provide our students. We're very excited this year that we expanded our grab and go and our breakfast in the classroom program to make sure that students were fed before they even went into their first period class or into their homeroom class. So that is a couple of the aspects that are under safety and security. The next is communications, and we realize that communication is always an area you can get better in. But we think we've done a pretty good job of starting this, and we have really outlined how do we make sure there's a two-way street with communication with our internal and our external stakeholders. So we realize that the best source of communication is always face-to-face. And we'll have town hall meetings, we'll have community meetings throughout the school year. But we also want to make sure that we're reaching out to our communities via social media and other methods as well, to email, our website. If you go to our website right now, you'll see sort of a teaser at the top left corner where it says something soon is coming in July. We realize that the biggest area of communication for us is making sure information is on our website so that it's easily accessible to our community. And so we're going to be unveiling a brand new website in July, and not something that we just came up with, but really something that stakeholder groups said, this is what we want to see on your website. We also will be making sure that we're starting a marketing campaign so folks understand what we're doing in Baltimore County Public Schools. So what's happening, link on our website so that folks always get the most updated and accurate information for our school system. But last but not least, we're going to be starting some innovative partnerships and something that we're calling an I Am Team BCPS campaign. We're reaching out to folks who graduated from Baltimore County, folks who have kids who graduated from Baltimore County, so we can get an idea of what they're doing right now to strengthen our partnerships with individuals, particularly through the Baltimore County Education Foundation. And last but not least, and you've heard me talk about this a lot, is organizational effectiveness. With the monies that we have in our budget, how are we making sure that we're utilizing those dollars effectively to get some maximum output? Well, it starts with human resources. And what I've been and really worked with Dr. Grill on this year, we're going to continue doing this. Matter of fact, in the fall, there'll be an HR update to the Board of Education, really around the life cycle of an individual with our organization, from the recruiting and selecting of an individual all the way to the evaluation of an individual. How do we make sure there's a peer assistance and review process? How do we make sure there's organizational development for not just teachers and principals, but really for individuals throughout the entire organization to get professional development? This is all under our comprehensive HR plan that's detailed in Blueprint 2.0. The other thing you hear a lot of us talk about is the technology infrastructure, where we have some schools with, some schools without. How do we make sure we level the playing field with standards across every single school? But last but not least, it talks about really the performance management. And we always hold schools accountable and making sure that students are learning, but we have various departments around the organization. So how do you make sure you hold every single department to a performance metric to make sure that that department is being efficient in its operation? Underneath this, we also have, and this is a topic we've talked about several times over the course of this year, is our facilities review. And how do we make sure there is a 10-year comprehensive strategic plan around our facilities and our development? So these are some of the aspects of what's in Blueprint 2.0. This will be available on our website for individuals to look at. Mr. President, the board has copies of it as well as individuals in our public. The last part of this is are the performance metrics and the annual targets. Because again, for us, it's making sure that we hold everyone accountable in the organization to making sure that all of our students are growing, but the entire organization is moving forward. Mr. President, I want to give an opportunity to present to you what's in Blueprint 2.0 for the board's consideration.
Thank you, Dr. Dan. I think we would ask that there be a motion to approve Blueprint 2.0 as it's been presented and shown in Exhibit N. Is there such a motion? Is there a second? Any discussion, questions of Dr. Dan? Dr. Dan, it's glad to see the metrics in here. Without some measurement of how we're doing, I know that term is overused, but across the board, that data I think is very important for this board to make sure that we see tangible evidence that the system continues to progress.
One of the other metrics we're doing, Mr. President, and for members of the board, is we have the performance metrics. We're also doing instructional metrics too. So as we look at doing this shift in how we look at teaching and learning for our school system, because the curriculum is changing, what are those instructional metrics that you need to look at as well to make sure that you get the performance metrics that you want in our class?
Anybody have any questions regarding Blueprint 2.0? Okay, hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor of approving Blueprint 2.0 as shown in Exhibit N, please indicate by saying aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Dr. Dan, thank you and the staff. I don't know, in particular, thank you for all your hard work on that. I know it's been something that she's done.